While it is up to individuals to believe their absolute truths, for some of us, we question almost everything so that we may not be deceived. We see Africans destroying idols and converting to Islam. We know that they are ignorant because Islam has idols, the Kaaba. We also know that Islam and Muslims enslaved billions and billions of melanin-dominant human beings and abused us. We also know that Islam is one of those religions that teaches us not to use our mystic systems and to ignore our fetish or protection systems. We are excited about Angola for its move to ban Islam and destroy mosques. We want to say Islam is anti-African. The Arab slave trade was worse and is worse than the transatlantic slave trade. Don't be cheated and don't be deceived to be told that the Islamic slave trade was better or to ignore it and think that the Atlantic slave trade was inhuman, evil and satanic. Wait until you review the Islamic slave trade itself, which was far worse than the Atlantic slave trade. Then you will truly realize that Islam is clearly anti-African to the core. So to realize this astonishing truth, we ask you to watch this video till the end so that you can see the systematic derangement and destruction that this religion is doing in Africa. So we want to look at this issue of Islam is anti-African from a 3-point perspective agenda. One, Islam is a very powerful propaganda machine that uses outright lies and subtle nuances that you need to watch. Number 2, Islam has the Hadiths that hides its anti-blackness. And the last point, number 3, we are our own worst enemies at the end of the day. When it comes to propaganda, one Islamic method is arguing that it has a clear anti-racist message and purposely says it exalted a former black slave, the famed companion to the Prophet Bilal ibn Rabah, to the metaphoric position of being the official muezzin, the first man to call early Muslim community to prayer, as if that means anything, because we have had senior military leaders, senior leaders, politicians, presidents of countries, army generals like Gafani Meiri, who mutated into pan-Arabists and started to destroy and to work to destroy African spirituality, and they were sellouts. So though he was a melanin-dominant human being, this Bilal, he was anti-African and ignorant at the end of the day. So these subtle nuances that we need to watch is that Islam enslaved, colonized, destroyed African civilization by going into Kemet, ancient Egypt, and destroying it and taking it over up to today. And now they pretend that they are the owners of that heritage. And this occurred 700 years before the European transatlantic slave trade. They also continue to hold on to the Middle East as if it's their continent. And now they are making overtures and moves to take over the whole of Africa. And with our blind leaders in Africa, they are going to succeed. Black Muslims, some of them may be revolutionaries, but like Malcolm X, Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, and many others, Muhammad Ali, they are just like their cousins, the black Christians, black Hebrew Israelites, and others who have lost their Afro identity and that which truly liberates us, which is our mystic system and our fetish charms, which Islam teaches them to ignore and to hold on to the Quran and the other festivities that they think are worthy, yet they are nothing, only military power. Islam has never apologized for enslaving black people. Islam uses the term abid to mean slave because according to Ahmadu Bamba's introduction and in the deplorable habit of some Arabs, they refer black people as abid slaves. It says here in the Wikipedia, the term is used in North Sudan as an ethnic slur for South Sudanese populations and dates back to the Arab slave trade through the Sahara. So this is very important, because their propaganda machine makes those that follow Islam forget that Arabs kept black slaves well into the 20th century. Saudi Arabia, for instance, did not abolish slavery until 1962. Yes, 1962. It continued into the 1970s in the United Arab Emirates, in Yemen, and in Oman, and even in Mauritania. It occurred into the 20th century and 21st century. Today is still occurring and still going on. So these Arab countries must give up our parts of Africa, right from Marrakesh right to Tehran. It's Africa, it's ours. The whole area belongs to melanin dominant human beings. Now, no reparations before they vacate. They should vacate and just go. If you consider the Arabs, what they did, raiding sub-Saharan Africa for 13 centuries without interruption, you will never convert to Islam. You will never consider it even for a second. Most of the millions of men that were deported vanished because of inhuman treatment, of pain and destruction, because they castrated these males. The castration process usually had just the testicle cut off in young boys, and for men the same process, and many millions of men died from the operation. Those that survived were dragged along in pain and shame. You can read this book, Eunuchs, Caliphs and Sultans, a study of power relationships, David Ayalion, of the things that happened in East Africa, right from Mozambique, Malawi, parts of Zimbabwe, up to Oman there. And this happened because we allowed it to happen, and we had sellouts amongst us. Now let's go to the Hadiths. What are the Hadiths? The Hadiths are those books that were crafted and written with the idea of interpreting the Quran as seen and taught by Muhammad, and also the collected sayings that he did which were not in the Quran, and it becomes one of the most powerful books to look into in terms of how at the inception of Islam did they treat black people and what it says. At the end of the day, to cut the long story short, it is anti-black. The Hadith is full of anti-black statements. You will witness this, and if you convert to Islam, you won't know it because you think that it is correct, it's a true religion. If you go to Sahih Muslim 5234 and Ibn Ishaq 423, it says the Prophet Muhammad said, whoever wants to see Satan, Iblis, should look at a black man. You can go to these other sources that are given here, the life of Muhammad by Ibn Ishaq, and at the end of the day, you will find melanin dominant human beings converting to Islam. It tells us that these are dumb. These are just like our friend the Ethiopian who was the first man to call Islam to prayer. The Prophet said the most disgusting creature among the creatures of Allah is one black person, including Kawarij. One of her fingers looks like a goat's nipple. That is in Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari. In another hadith, Muhammad is quoted as saying, if you have a dream about a black woman, beware of coming diseases to follow. Blacks are pug-nosed slaves. Sahih Muslim volume 9 page 46-47. When you summarize what the Prophet teaches and what the Hadith teaches, there are three facts that come out clearly. They discriminate and enslave black people. They call and compare black people to Satan, the devil, Iblis. Allah hates and dislikes black Africans. That's what comes. So when you raise these issues to the people who follow the Quran and Muhammad, they will say there is no racism in Islam against black people or any other color. Yes, because the Quran is a little bit silent about that, but it teaches you, the followers, to do jihad, to fight against those who do not believe in Allah. So they find the Africans who do not believe in Allah, they have to fight them. Or the last day, who don't believe in the last day, they have to fight us. And who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth, Islam. So if you do not, like Africans never adopted it, so they fight you, they kill you, they put a sword on your throat and tell you to convert. From those who were given the scriptures, these are others, until given the ziyah, that is willingly pay, and you are going to be humbled. So what kind of religion is that? It destroys us. Anyway, Bukhari says the Prophet said, let the Negro slave of Dina perish, and if he is pierced with a thorn, let him not find anyone to take it out for him. If he, the black slave, asks for anything, it shall not be granted, and if he needs intercession to get into paradise, his intercession will be denied. It's there in Bukhari. At the end of the day, we are our own worst enemies. The Muslim would never have colonized us if we had stood our ground and a fight back. If we had not had this, one of our brothers, or these our brothers and sisters supporting Islamic jihad. You see, there is no pale Arab here. It's only our brothers. And they are pointing to the skull, stepping his leg on the skull, and pointing to the skeleton and saying, if you don't follow us, you are going to perish and you'll be eaten by birds here, and animals and wild animals. There's no page Arab here cutting the throat and wiping their blood. It's only our brothers and sisters, just like Boko Haram and all these other groups. Exactly what has happened in history is repeating itself here. So arguably this was cruel, and it's cruel, and it's evil, and it's painful because it is being done by our own brothers and sisters. Here again is Tipo Tip, 1837, June 14 to 1905. His real name was Hamadin bin Muhammad bin Jarib Muhammad Said Magrubi. He was a Swahili from Zanzibar, a trader, a slave trader, made a lot of money, associated himself with Europeans, pale Arabs, and happily he was blind. He became blind. We pray and they say his soul perished and never found peace. We have our own Tibo. Here is a president of Zambia selling land to the Arabs, forgetting that the Arab slaves and Arab hates us. Islam is not African, it's anti-African. So this president Hakainde Hichilema, who is a Christian anyway, is signing a memorandum of understanding with Sheikh Ahmed's company to manage and sell carbon credits for Zambia woodlands. This company is called Blue Carbon. They forget these people. We are our own worst enemies. This Sheikh has initiated deals with governments in Liberia. This footballer who knew only to kick a ball, a skin full of air, doesn't know. He's dumb, daft, and dull like other leaders in Africa. It's a fact. This is our birthright. We cannot allow Blue Carbon, the Emirates who owns this company, to come and buy Africa, just like what they did in Zimbabwe, where they sold 20% of the most fertile land to these pale Arabs who are colonizers, who are enslavers, who do not like them. As they buy this land, they call them monkeys, they call them abid. In private, they laugh at us. They laugh at these leaders, these politicians that are selling land. They think they like them. They are laughing at them and calling them slaves as they buy the land. And they are proving it. They have not been forced to sell the land. Go and watch this video, and then you realize how damned we are to have the leaders that we have at the moment. Same in Zimbabwe. They did that, and they are excited. They are happy, not knowing that Islamic slave trade lasted 1,350 and was stopped by the United Nations. It never stopped. It's still going on, and now it has become more subtle, more secret, and it's very, very pervasive. Muslims and our black brothers who sell out forget the Islamic slave trade, or deliberately forget about it, which was the largest and longest, which took about 1,500 years and is still going on today. It ranks as one of the cruelest, brutal, and subtle hegemony, animal and beast that ever came upon melanin-dominant human beings. Melanin-dominant human beings, males, were castrated brutally, and automatically millions perished and died in pain. Those who survived were dragged along the many interior crisscross deserts routes to the Swahili coasts, whereas in fertile human moves they were abused and used and then dumped and thrown away to the sharks, to the pigs, to the wild animals. A visit to the dreadful Muslim slave pens in Bagamoyo and in Tanzania and in Zanzibar, one of the most claustrophobically evil places on earth, will give anyone a sense of this fierce sadism, evil and satanic spirit which is still lingering there. This occurred for 1,500 years. Yet today you find melanin-dominant human beings, politicians and businessmen and others who are totally ignorant, embracing Islam and defending it and fighting for it. You have to remember that Islam is anti-African. Angola banning Islam and destroying mosques did a good job. It is said, even up to Yemen, the wars we are seeing there, we can see the cruelty that occurs and that occurred there. To learn more and to work for the liberation of melanin-dominant human beings anywhere on earth, visit our website marifado.org. Also go to our Instagram and like our videos and our messages on Instagram on marfado_US, or send us an email on join@marfado.com, so that together we can craft a compelling legacy that withstands and that is eternal and that rescues all our melanin dominant brothers and sisters everywhere they are, and even rescue the souls of those that perished during the Islamic and that shall perish during the Islamic colonization and the new colonization that is coming. Your manager to be pleased by LM says, subscribe to our channel, like our videos, leave a comment, share to as many people as possible, and we shall be saved, and we will be our own liberators. Amen.